Hey everyone, this is Brendan, aka Skull Babylon, and you're about to listen to an episode of Collective Evolution Radio upon which I was welcomed onto as a guest. We talked a bit about the genesis of the global paradigm shift community, what the shift in consciousness is from my perspective, identification of the ego, inspiration within films, my next major film project, The Journey to Lucidity, Sasquatch, a few other cool things, and more. The Collective Evolution team are the ones behind two full-length documentaries of their own which are linked into this YouTube video. A big thanks to them. Be sure to check out their stuff, listen to future episodes, and enjoy the show.
So on to tonight's guest, I guess we could say, ParadigmShiftCentral.com. What this is it's a hub for a global network of paradigm shift communities that encourage and support open-mindedness, healthy living, and the evolution of consciousness. And with that, I'm going to bring on our guest tonight. Who goes by the name of Skull Babylon. Are you there?
That I am.
How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me, Joe. Yeah, this is always nice. I mean, usually I'm, coming in from the other side of the radio and hosting things, whereas this I'm like the guest, so just get to relax in a different way, which will be cool.
Yeah, exactly. Put your feet up, and if anything goes wrong, it's probably my fault. Yeah, that's it. That's what it's about. Yeah, no, it's interesting because it kind of started that way for us over here too. It was like, hey, we were getting on the shows, and then we thought, hey, you know what? Why don't we just do one of our own as well? Start doing that. But then next thing you know, it's like you're on the hook if anything goes wrong. But that's always fun anyway. Well, it's great to have you. I mean, we're excited. I mean, we've kind of been chatting back and forth for the past little while. I don't remember if I found you or you found me through the World Wide Web. But,
yeah, it seemed to happen in the blink of an eye, and now here we are. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's been fun watching paradigm shift progress and just everything that's been going on. And I know you just released the 3 Days of Light not too long ago, and already you got another project on the go. Before we get to those, though, why don't you tell us a bit about your journey leading up to, I guess, the creation of Paradigm Shift Central?
Yeah. Like I was thinking that would be the obvious thing to sort of talk about, like if for the people who don't know me, hello to all of you, and I'll just slightly correct you. My name is Brendan Culleton, so no A. I know. I just wanted to clarify that since that is who I am, obviously.
No problem.
And in terms of just like starting from the beginning, I'll actually go back just a little bit. And Joe already explained where we are now. Where we are right now is for one thing, every Saturday we do a radio show, and that radio show is Paradigm Shift Radio, and that radio show is a branch of Paradigm Shift Central, which, as Joe already explained, it has now evolved over the past 3 or 4 years into this global collective of communities across the world. And basically, I helped start it with Paradigm Shift London, Ontario, which is where I live still. And from there, we started doing our own media. I was in school at the time for television production. And I was like, all right, I'm learning this stuff. How do I apply it in a way that I feel can actually be beneficial to the world and those around me and express myself creatively? So we started doing a bunch of videos over time, had guest speakers into the college when the club first started, and those videos went online. And then once we started the radio show, which has only been running, consecutively, our 40th episode will be this Saturday, so that's 39 shows in a row so far.
Wow.
But it's quite a bit. Since we started that's when it really took the global approach. And I was saying, hey folks, this is what we did here in Paradigm Shift London. This is a group of community coming together through understanding that synchronicity will draw us together so long as we are putting forth that effort to meet in the first place and to build the tribe. And basically showing that it happened here in London, Ontario, we were saying that, this can happen anywhere. And it's quite exciting when it does, because in the same way that there's still a lot of people who are becoming more familiar with the conscious community, thanks to the online activity that there is to say on the internet, but they don't necessarily have too many people who they can meet face to face. But surely, if you were to go out into your community, you would find them. Thinking that it won't happen is just kind of, I think, just a simple, that's almost like an ego thing. But I mean, when you sort of realize how synchronicity works, and simply by putting yourself out there, these people get drawn together. And it's almost like this idea, a simple way of thinking about it without getting too deep into it right away, is this idea of soul groups. and the idea that the people who you'll meet within your paradigm shift community once you get involved with it, whether you're starting it or just, you know, being an active member of it, so to speak, these people who you're meeting are like people who in some way you've known before you met them. Like you knew them before you met them, and you have like an agreement ahead of time to meet each other, and it was only just a matter of time, which makes it spiritually on that level, for those looking at it that way, very exciting and almost like a self-fulfilling experience that is there just waiting for you. But yeah, so just to sort of wrap up that little bit, we were doing the radio still. We got all these communities across the globe. I myself am still doing videos, and we can talk about that. And and then we got the other full-length project coming up in the future. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Awesome, that sounds good. And just to touch on the factor that you brought up there of how you kind of don't know who's out there sometimes and who's a part of your community that's into this stuff. I mean, when you think about it, like even if you relate, if you're listening to this show, it's probably likely that you know about this shift, or there's something that's changed that's going on, or you can feel it inside of you or something. It's like, think about the times when you were scared to say this stuff to people, or you were scared to bring it up. I mean, there's lots of other people like that out there that you would think are completely just, I guess, you know, average people or whatever you want to call it, that are just really aren't into this stuff. But it's most likely that they're probably just hiding it. You know, they haven't brought it up, they haven't said anything, and until they answer that call of, hey, there's this community started up out here, you know, come check it out. I mean, you're never going to know, right?
Yeah, and it goes back to the simple idea, you know, like if you build it, they will come. Like Field of Dreams style, literally, like that's how it works. And that's not to just say it's simple, because it is, but it's also like very effective. It's super effective in its simplicity. And I mean, I'll just mention this, just, you know, a lot of people already know this, but part of the incentive when we were doing it in the college was we had free punch and pie at our meetings. So that was always something that, like, you know, people would just be like, I don't know about this, but there is free punch and pie, so I'm going to go anyways. And then they show up for the pie and stick around for the metaphysical insight. And and when we, kind of what you're saying, you know, I think everybody does, at some level, does have an interest in how this reality works and are intrigued by the mysteries of it. You know, everybody does have that level of curiosity. It's just different people sort of, you know, it's more active in some, so to speak. And if you were to, I think because what we did in the college, one of our first topics that we had a guest speaker in was about like lucid dreaming and astral projection. And I find that if you approach people with topics that they can relate to, then that's a good way to just start initiating the conversation. You know, you don't just want to run up to someone and start shaking them and be like, oh my God, did you know about Agartha? And do you know about the reptilians and crystals and pineal glands and DMT and stuff? And, you know, just freak them out. They're just like, what the fuck? You know, but if you just say like, oh, you know, like, you've dreamed before, right? Like, what do you have any particular dreams that have stuck with you? Like, just, you know, do you remember your dreams? Have you ever tried writing them down? And you just start engaging with them from this, you know, from the example of this topic, and you'll find that a big part of like this whole process, this whole learning process, is us also being there as listeners as well, you know, just helping initiate conversations and then giving people a chance to have someone to talk to who's genuinely interested in this. Because no doubt, a lot of people have a lot to say. They might just not have someone who's like genuinely there around them to listen to them, right? So if you can be that person, that other side of the conversation, then yeah, it's a pretty effective and exciting thing for someone who might be new, quote unquote, to a lot of this conversation. So yeah, like I think everybody can open up to this paradigm shifty stuff, if you want to, you know, call it that, in some angle or another. Like we're all in this process of waking up in different styles, and who's to say what style is like right or wrong. But yes, for some it might take longer than others, and for some it may not necessarily even be this lifetime, which is in this case, like, you know, a large majority of the population, it seems. But that is there's more of us, and that's like proven every day, and the fact that there's a whole bunch of people right now listening to this radio station who maybe you know, a couple of years ago would have thought to themselves like they would question and be like, am I alone? Like, am I the only one who thinks this stuff? Like, am I crazy? Like, and now those people are like more confident because they know that no, they're most definitely not alone. And this whole shift in consciousness thing is quite a real thing, and I'm sure that's something we can talk more about. Like, you know, what is actually happening in terms of us becoming more aware, like, so to speak.
Right, and you're absolutely right. We can go on forever about that topic. It's such a great topic. But I was just going to touch on the fact that, when you, I guess the idea of just like bull in the china shop, just, running out there the very first time you ever meet somebody and just like, oh, have you heard of this? You heard of that? Like, I've seen a lot of that over the past 4 years, in just, I guess, how that can be approached and the way it just turns people off and all that sort of stuff. And interestingly enough, it's something that we started to change a little bit over what we're doing here in terms of the approach. And I think you have this down pat, it seems. Just changing the approach to really just relate to everybody. And what happens is you do realize for sure that everybody can relate to this stuff. I mean, it all comes down to how it's presented. You have a whole bunch of different ways to present it, and each person can kind of, I guess, be drawn to where is most comfortable for them. But at the end of the day, and we always say this, is it's like the awakening that's happening is the same awakening that's happening to absolutely everybody. It's not some individual thing where only one answer is the right one. It's truly happening across the board, and I think that's kind of the exciting part of it, is that people are going to have it in their own way, in their own journey, at their own speed, right? So it's pretty exciting. I guess we have a choice here. I mean, we can go into a little bit more about how how it
came to be, or
or even like if you want to start going into like where you have chapters, how people can find out that type of stuff, or we can continue going on into that thicker stuff that we kind of brought up earlier about the shift. It's up to you. If you want to start with the I guess on the lighter note, we can do that.
Well, I'll since it was brought up, I mean, when we talk about like what is this shift, because I mean, like everybody, like you said, everybody's got the shift, but it's from their own perspective. So I'll explain that like really simply, so to speak, and then maybe I'll maybe just talk a little bit about like my backstory. And I'm sure some people like might be kind of interested in hearing that as well. And okay, so this terms of like this shift. Okay, so if we were to just say like, what does the shift in consciousness mean? Like, to me, consciousness itself is almost synonymous with awareness, and awareness of what is the question. My answer would be awareness of the fact that we are more than our physical body, and then from there, that thought, that idea branches into a whole new box, boxes upon boxes upon boxes that you didn't even realize were there. And then it's this idea that where we are in the physical, and again, this is stuff I'm saying is some people where they're just like, they'll be able to nod along with this and be like, yep, like I know what you're talking about. But what I'm talking about is the fact that like where we are in the physical is just a density, a vibration. And again, these are words that are becoming more known, they're becoming more understood. And where we're actually from is more closer to the dream realm, the astral realm, this place where things aren't quite as solid and thoughts actually create instantaneously. And like that is kind of, there's no such thing as empty space. And the perception that we have of the world right now is one is currently filtered. Like we literally have filters on it, and that's where and again, like right now, I'm just, as an example, I'm just talking about stuff, and I'm like branching from idea to idea to idea, but in a short amount of time. But what I'm saying, so just backstep a little bit. So we know that this reality is physical, but we also know that there is more to it. And what there is that's more to it is actually stuff that we're still interacting with. And that's where you get into the topic of like pineal gland and like even like DMT, and like the idea that the pineal gland is actually receiving all this information instantaneously. And if you could see this information with your own eye, and I literally mean eye as in third eye, then it would appear to you very similar to the code out of the movie The Matrix in a metaphorical sense, in the sense that it is vibrant, it is light, it is infinite fractals and geometry, and it is all connected. And this in itself represents the holographic interconnected reality that is everything. And that's where you get into ideas which very closely are being understood in quantum mechanics, where it's this idea of like non-locality, and things can affect each other regardless of the distance between them, and thoughts actually create. So again, it's us becoming more aware. Long story short, what is the shift in consciousness? It's us becoming more aware of where we're from, what this experience is about, and what we are capable of within this reality. And from there is a question of what do we do with that awareness. We continue to work on ourselves, and we also try to help better the lives of those around us, using these understandings and understandings of the fact that, yes, this place that we are in is a school, and it's also a chance for us to learn. And we also have to understand that the universe is on our side, and it takes a little bit more than just nonchalantly saying, okay, like, I'm at the whim of the universe. Like, I think if you really want to step it up, it takes a little bit more free will in terms of discipline and consistency. And the real awakening of consciousness, that if you really want to get deeper about this, like, this is actually referring to the fact that we are here to awaken in both states. Right now, we are conscious, we are becoming more conscious, but we are not awake, in the sense that so many of us go to sleep at night and they sleep through their dreams, and then they dream through their waking life. Like, they're asleep while they're dreaming, and then they're dreaming, like, while they're awake. And it's this idea of not fully being present. But when you can get into things like meditation, and you start learning about just mindfulness and the fact that these internal realms exist, like referring to the dream realm and stuff like that, then it gives you motivation to try and have these experiences for yourself. And that's where you need to get into consistency of terms of, like, exploring, like, mantras and, just like, even just like yoga, and just becoming more aware of your physical body for the purpose of being able to work with the dream realm, and, writing down your dreams and so forth and so on. But if you really want to, like, do something that is, like, next level, that, like, very few % of the population are doing, then that is to become awake within your dreams, like, more so than you are now. And as you do that, you'll be getting, like, a heck of a lot more out of this experience, because suddenly your reality won't just be what you experience here in the physical. Your reality will be something that happens to you throughout the day, and the experiences that you have within the dream realm will be equally valuable to you in that, like, educational, productive, like, wheel of samsara sense. So that, I mean, short story long.
Yeah. You touched on a lot there.
I mean, yeah, and it's a lot, but I think when you connect the dots, it's really not that complicated either. And I hope kind of what I did there, I mean, maybe I'm always interested in trying to kind of do what I did there, encourage other people to do it in their own words, and then become better at doing it. But I mean, I think if you were to formulate those ideas in a specific way, you could give that knowledge to someone who may not be quote unquote awake, and they would be like, oh, okay, like, that kind of makes sense. I've just never heard it that way. So, I mean, again, it's not all this consciousness shifting stuff, the fact that we're more than physical bodies, the fact that, like, chi and kai exist, and, emotions emit energy, and we can create reality with our thoughts and stuff like that, and each one of us is Neo from the Matrix. Like, it's this idea that, yeah, like, anybody can awaken up to that. It's just a matter of where and when for them. So.
Well, you're absolutely right with that, and I guess over my journey I can say, and I'm sure you can agree with this, is that sometimes it's even people that, I mean, you just never would have expected that just kind of all of a sudden have this awakening, or this some sort of this click that just happens out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they're changing and everything's different. You're just like, wow, like, it's not that you wouldn't have expected it in the sense of you're judging their character, but more so just like just their life path, where they were going. You just didn't think it was going to happen that quick and just a snap of a button. But sometimes it's just the way it goes. But you also mentioned something kind of about, it's not just a matter of, hey, I'm going to say this and then that means I'm living it. And I think that's something that it's kind of a bit of a trend that goes on out in, I guess what you can say, out in the movement, so to speak.
I think I got a term for that. Yeah, like kind of. Well, I was going to say spiritual materialism, which isn't quite. But yeah, I know what you mean. People who are, like, super interested in this stuff, but, like, how many of them are actively as active as they could be?
Right, and it's not to say that because this comes up a lot, but it's not to say that they have to get out there, start a website, and start promoting all this stuff and this and whatever. But more so, just like how much of this stuff are they really applying to their lives and using to help, I guess, clear out their old belief systems and ways of doing things and opening up to, a different type of world? Are they living it in the sense of, are they allowing themselves to actually change and to actually affect others with change and stuff like that? And I think it comes down to a degree at times, it can be that a spiritual identity is created, and that just becomes a new way of living, and we don't actually allow ourselves to truly just be this neutral aspect of ourselves, just experiencing and being open, but instead we create a new layer to the ego, so to speak. And in that sense, we're just still running as an ego program, essentially.
Yeah.
So on that note, I was going to say, like, obviously you said that, or you see this happening and stuff like that, but like, what would be your, I guess, advice or your thoughts on how that can kind of be avoided, or how somebody can actually start practically putting a lot of this stuff into use?
I think a clip that comes to mind when you talk about that, because it's one of my favorite clips, is actually the scene from the movie Revolver, and it's talking about the identification of the ego, and I'll actually I'll post a link for it in the live chat in a second here. But within that, you're right. Like the identification of the ego is pretty it's a pretty vigorous endeavor, and it's not something that just like happens overnight. And I think the clip of the Revolver, it kind of paints it well, and I don't want to get like too into this, but I would suggest people watch that. But I mean, like there is that part of ourself that has convinced itself that it is us, when in fact like it's not. And again, like that'll be the part of ourselves that sort of like tries to like avoid and desire. That's commonly what the ego does, and if we can become more if we can literally become more conscious of our own ego, then that's going to help us be able to work with it. And not to say that the goal is simply to get rid of it, because like the ego is almost synonymous for like what Lucifer represented in most ancient texts, because like the characters within like ancient texts are often just psychological representations of ourselves, and even for like the Hindu gods and things like that, and even like different like Norse gods and stuff, they had like different gods for different elements of like the human condition, so to speak. And the ego itself, like being synonymous to Lucifer, is there as like a psychological trainer. So if you can be able to recognize it, and it's for a simple example would just be like, say there's a chocolate bar on the table, and you want to walk up and you just be like, that chocolate bar sure does look delicious, and I know it's delicious, and if I eat it, I'm going to feel really good for a couple minutes, and other than that, it's not necessarily serving me. But within those first couple justifications, you're just like, all right, I'm going to take it, right? And then those parts of you that are just saying like, yeah, I like don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. It's just a chocolate bar. You can have it. Like, don't worry about it. Like, who's no one's judging you. Who cares, right? Like, I believe in you. You're a cool dude. Yada yada yada. Whereas like, there's another part of you that says like, well, like, what would happen if I didn't eat that chocolate bar? Would I be like taking part in an active role of like discipline, even within that small decision, and just be like, yes, I do want that chocolate bar. Yes, I do desire it. But to be able to say like, no, it's not something that I'm going to do. And sometimes you can do that simply for the fact of not doing it. Like, you can literally do what I just said and have like a piece of chocolate next to you during the day and be tempted to eat it and simply not eat it as a chance for you to be able to like work with your own ego in a very small way. And also it's important to understand that like the chocolate bar itself is like incredibly neutral, like, which is like a big part of this, right? Like everything around us is kind of neutral. It's always like our impressions that we put on things that sort of like create them into like the situation that we make out of them. But yeah, so I mean, take that chocolate bar example and then just apply it to bigger things in your life. And even just like things related to like carnal desire and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, like that's a big thing, like how many people are still like walking down the street on a day-to-day basis and just like seeing, if they're like out and about and like seeing like an attractive girl from across the street, and then just for a moment, just like having thoughts come into their head and stuff like that. And then, but not necessarily consciously caring about it and just be like, yeah, okay, that girl's like super hot. Like like et cetera, et cetera. And then, the next, again, kind of similar to the chocolate bar, it would be a process of recognizing that those thoughts come in the first place, because it wouldn't be simply about like just like totally not having them. Maybe at some point it would be that level, but within the first process, it's just like recognizing that those thoughts are there and then just not choosing to identify with them. So again, like, what is the ego? The ego is part of our identity if we choose to let it be, or based on how much we choose to let it be. So, yeah, I think I think I did a pretty good job of explaining the ego there. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think you touched on some key stuff, and like, you know, one of the things too is and you brought this up, is just asking the question. I mean, who wants it? Like, who, you know what I'm saying? So when it turns to the chocolate bar, who really wants it, or what really wants it? Because oftentimes we find out that it's, you know, the desire for it. Sometimes are we making up for some form of emotional gap or void that we feel within ourselves, or are we doing it because we're bored, or are we doing it because we had a shitty day, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. You realize that, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's not even you who really even wants it. But I was going to make a note, and it just slips my mind, because I was looking at a little list here of something I wanted to bring up in terms of movies, because you brought up The Revolver there, which is an awesome movie. I was like, when I first watched it, I was like, oh man, this has a lot of stuff in it. But I wanted to, I guess, get your take on what's your favorite, I guess you could say, more Hollywood-esque type movie, and so not including independent documentaries and stuff like that. What's your favorite movie that has this kind of stuff in there that you would recommend people out there watch?
Well, I mean, being let me just backstep a little bit just to remind people. A couple of websites for those of you who may not be in the live chat. ParadigmShiftCentral.com. So I mean, these are things you can check out while you're listening to this. ParadigmShiftCentral.com has a lot of the videos for there, and then Facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio, and then GoFundMe.com/JourneyToLucidity, which is what I'm about to talk about, kind of segueing off this topic as well. So Journey to Lucidity is the next film project that I'm getting started up in. And other than that, Facebook.com/SkullBabylon, YouTube.com/SkullBabylon. But yeah, in terms of, like, you know, I went to school for movies, for television broadcasting, and like, movies in themselves are a big inspiration, you know, seeing other representations, seeing other art styles and things like that. So obvious movies that come to mind in terms of even just this upcoming project of Journey to Lucidity, particular movies that have inspired me, movies like Waking Life is obviously, and again, that's a good movie to show to people. And I think that in itself was one of those movies that was part of people's original waking up process back in the day when there wasn't as much media about this. A movie like Waking Life, because it came out in like 2005 or 6 or something, like a movie like that was like radically different. And when a lot of people saw it, they were like, whoa, you know, like, I gotta share this with my friends. They gotta see this. They gotta, like, watch this movie, like, you know, for themselves. And so movies like that, movies by like Terry Gilliam, you know, the Emporium of Dr. Parnassus. Is that what it's? Wow, I forget the first word of that title. The Imaginarium. That's what it is.
Imaginarium, yeah.
It's like not. I don't even know if that's a real word. Imaginarium, Dr. Parnassus. Yeah. So people, you know, a lot of people have seen that movie. Movies like Enter the Void, because I mean, like, I like the whole, like, first person in that, and plus there's like that whole scene where they simulated DMT experience, which is a first in a movie. Well, I mean, to a degree, without it being a metaphor in some way. Yeah, movies like that, and then you get into like other movies that like go back into my youth. I mean, I liked a lot of like military movies, and like that's a big part of my like personality and stuff. Like, you know, not to get off traffic. Not to get off traffic. I don't know what I was talking about there. Not to get off topic. I think, yeah, like the military side of my personality is something that I don't try to hide, so to speak. Military-esque, I guess you would say. Like, I've always grown up with an interest in it, and even like my previous film project, I guess, which I could mention as well, since you guys are aware that If I Should Fall, and www.ifishouldfall.com, and that's like my first full-length documentary that I did, which is actually about military, and in particular, like, it's a real documentary about a soldier who was killed in Afghanistan, who's actually from Mississauga, and Joe obviously being from like Toronto area, you know, for people listening, feel free to check that out if you happen to actually be within like the GTA area. And so again, ifishouldfall.com. But yeah, like, so movies from back in my past, like, I mean, I even think of movies like Starship Troopers. It's just fun to be able to talk about movies too, because there's so many good ones. And one in particular that I guess was almost around the same time was the movie Hackers. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I got that one.
Yeah. Yeah, the movie Hackers from like 1995 with Angelina Jolie when she was like 18 years old, and that movie really just left an impression on me, and it was really. I really like the style of it, and I really like the characters of it, and I like the music of it, and I like the plot of it. You know, it's just like these kids, and like it says like on the box title for it, you know, like their only crime was curiosity. So again, going back to like growing up, I've always been really curious. Like that was something that has always sort of been a part of my nature. Like I've always, you know, just kind of been an outside the box thinker, and a lot of that came from my grandfather, my late grandfather, and he when I was younger, he was like telling me stuff about like Einstein and things like that, and it was just really interesting because I'm very much him in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's like the movie Hackers is really a movie I dig, and even like the scene where they're like rollerblading downtown and like Prodigy's playing in the background and stuff. Just people who know what I'm talking about. But I'll just sort of tell again. So or did you have an immediate question? Because I was just going to kind of like jump from a couple topics here.
I was just going to make quick reference to, we threw in, a little while ago, we put up a post about like movies with like truth in them or consciousness and stuff like that. Right. I mean, things like Revolver and Peaceful Warrior and Matrix, Equilibrium, that kind of stuff, right? And so we were just looking at it today, funny enough that the subject comes up, but there was actually like 85 other movies of the list of like, I think we started out with like 30. And over the course of the post being out there, there's like 85 other movies that commenters had added for movies to check out with truth. And I thought it was crazy that there was that many movies out there that had, I guess, a big impact on people in terms of having, you know, some truth or some consciousness or something in it that allowed them to feel like, wow, I'm relating to this content and how this is allowing me to, I guess, kind of expand myself. So I threw up that link there just for people because you know, sometimes when you're looking for a good movie to watch and you don't want the old mundane kind of comedy or whatever it may be, you could check this out and watch some movies that are actually good. Other note I just wanted to quickly make before when I forgot about the whole idea of when we were talking about the ego and I guess how to control it or that sort of stuff. It's I like to put it in a sense of the ego right now and has been for a long time in the driver's seat of our experience. And right. One of the main things that's happening now is we're just switching seats. So we're going to put it in the passenger seat and we're going to be the ones driving. And I think that's kind of one of the big ways that we can really take our lives and kind of, I guess, take control of them to a degree and realizing, just as you were saying with walking down the street and seeing, you know, not a member of the opposite sex and having it run you, it's just kind of like, once you recognize those thoughts and once you're able to kind of just say, hey, you know what, I don't need to act upon these, you know, you realize that you're now the one driving and the ego is just kind of sitting there saying, hey, dad, look at this, or, you know, pulling on the leg type thing. And then eventually it just gives up, right? Yeah. So that's just a little tidbit thought I'd add there.
Yeah, that is a good metaphor. I agree as well. So yeah, like we're I mean, I'd be interested, you know, just sort of like casually, just I mean, if we let my ego take over the driver's seat for a second, let me tell you all about myself. Like, well, I don't know, but I mean, yeah, like I feel like it'd be, or maybe, did you have a question? Because I mean, I could sort of hopscotch back what I was, I guess, going to mention before.
Well, I mean, you can go right into what you wanted to mention. I mean, what we were going to do is just start getting into some of the stuff that you do and stuff like that too, as well as hearing more about yourself and, you know, a little bit of your background story and stuff like that. Yeah.
And do we got until 9:30? Are we 90 minutes on this one?
Yeah, we're 90 minutes total. I might cut you off, you know, about 9:25 just to throw in the last tidbits, but or even I would just say, like, I mean, yeah, like, we'll intentionally not take up too much time, but I would be down to have some people call into the show, like maybe some, like, folks who I'm, like, friends with, who are just like, yeah, this guy's cool, yeah, or something. I don't know, it'd be funny. I'm sure someone would do it. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so maybe for anybody who's listening who's, like, listened to Paradigm Shift Radio in the past, I guess, around 9:15, see if you're around, feel free to call in, I guess, and we'll take some callers. That'd be cool. But yeah, kind of. We were talking about movies, we were talking about influences and artistic impressions and stuff. And I mean, I've been doing YouTube videos for quite a while now, and my channel, youtube.com Skull Babylon. My channel has like almost 3,000 subscribers, which is, you know, in YouTube terms, that's good. In terms of like conscious community terms, that's like also good. You know, I don't get like videos that have like millions of hits on them. I guess because they don't feature like animals with like wide angle lenses. Well, actually, that's not true. Some of them do. Well, not with a wide angle lens, but some of my videos do have my dogs in them and stuff. But I mean, like I said, I went to school for television broadcasting. I started making videos, and then the whole Skull Babylon thing came about in June 2011, and that was when I sort of switched styles, and that's something that's been a big part of my work, is that I always work with a lot of styles. So actually, if you want to get like a whole list of a whole bunch of selected videos that I put up, kind of like an anthology or whatever, paradigmshiftcentral.com/skullbabylon, that is like a page that I made for, it sort of answers the question and shows all my videos. But the Skull Babylon thing, because I mean, you know, a lot of people are interested, you know, like where did that come from? What's with that name? What's it about? Skull Babylon is a pen name, I guess you could say. It's like my journalism name, and it's something that came about in June 2011, like I said. And prior to that, I was doing a lot of the I was messing around with different styles, like I said, and the videos that we had originally of the Paradigm Shift in the college, and you can check those out on the website as well, like those were like guest speakers with kind of me hosting and them answering questions. Then eventually the journalism was like me directly talking to the camera and doing it from a gonzo style, which in terms of like Hunter S. Thompson, like it means for the person reporting to have themselves in the story that they are reporting on. So gonzo journalism, like that's Skull Babylon, Neo-Gonzo Journalist of the Future is kind of the full title that I've worked with. And the gonzo style was just a way for me to engage with what was happening in the Paradigm Shift London community as it was expanding at that time, and for me to be able to tell the story and say like, hey, look, this is what's happening, and to also be able to create stories is always exciting. So I mean, there's specific times, and you can go back and check these videos, stuff from like September recently, when me and a bunch of the people from the London community went out and we were like holding signs on a busy street, and we were like getting people to like look at these signs, and the signs on them had thought-provoking ideas, and one, you know, simple things. So like one of them was like open your heart, one of them was as you think so shall you become, and then we had another one that was we're all collective consciousness experiencing itself subjectively, you know, Bill Hicks. And I mean, that again, you can see that video. It's called Plant a Seed. It's on the website. You'll find it. And that is stuff that we do. So, you know, like I'll create an event. I'll create a scenario where it's me and my friends bringing consciousness into our community, like actively, almost in a sense of like activism. And that's something I've you know, a good friend said that to me, and I just stuck with me, this idea that spiritual people need to become more active, and activist people need to become more spiritual, so to speak. And so we're kind of, oftentimes I'll try to find a middle ground and do that in a public situation and be able to document it, to say like, hey, this is what I'm doing, this is what you guys can do too. And that is something that's happened within the Paradigm Shift global community, is that I've created the files, like the graphics that people can use to create their own signs, and other people have done this. They've made their own signs. They've literally made the same ones I use and gone out there and like gave out free hugs to people in their community, and just also while doing this, giving people like business cards that link people back to the local community's Facebook page. Because, you know, you sort of said earlier, like and this kind of goes back to my military style, so to speak. I'd like to be able to approach things systematically, or like with the tactic behind it that I know is going to be effective, as simple as it is. So, I mean, when you have elements like business cards and Facebook websites and a central website and a radio show and other graphics and inspiration and encouragement and community connection, it helps everybody sort of move forward, knowing that, again, they're not alone. Like, there are other people doing this, and it's really exciting for other people to see that, because, you know, they see like, hey, there's another Paradigm Shift community doing like its free hug thing. Like, we should go do that too. You know, like I'm here with my buddies. Like, let's do that. Let's do that and just create that experience for ourselves. And the next video that I'm actually putting up, and I guess in addition to this episode, because for anybody listening to this episode live, I'll put this up on my YouTube channel as well, and you can check it out there as well as through this original link. But the video that I'm putting up tomorrow is me yesterday out downtown on St. Patrick's Day, giving out free hugs and filming it with my shoulder camera. And as crazy as that sounds, like, that's what I did, and it worked, and you know, you get a lot of feedback, and you get a lot of just like interesting reactions, and there was like, and it was really interesting because I had the camera mounted on my right shoulder. So traditionally when you go to hug someone, their face would go on your right shoulder, like that's where their head would go. So because my camera was there, it actually it forced, you know, force being a loose word, it forced people to hug the other way, so their head was on my left shoulder. But when you hug like this, and this is actually like the opposite way that a lot of people hug just by default, when you hug like this, it's actually a more heart-to-heart connection. Like the heart chakra literally aligns more directly, and you can just feel it a little bit differently. And so I mean, it was really interesting just hugging people from that angle, and and getting their reaction and stuff like that, and then just doing it and just for the sake of doing it, really. And the fact that it was like St. Patrick's Day was just me, evident of sort of another aspect of my personality, this idea that, you know, I was sitting there, it was like midday, and I was like, you know, like, should I go downtown and give out free hugs and film it on video? And then in the process of me asking myself that, I'm like, well, considering I don't have any excuses, I guess I pretty much gotta do it, so to speak, right? Like, I can either do it or not do it, and then never know what that reality was. Like, you know, never have created that, yet only look back at it as like an opportunity that was sort of missed, so to speak, right? Because other than that, I just have to wait 1 year until St. Patrick's Day again, you know? So, I mean, in the choice of doing it, a whole bunch of, one of the main synchronicities that happened out of it, and again, like, this was me, like, totally, like, this was like universe doing its synchronistic thing. This is just an example of it. I went down to the bus stop, and while I was at the bus stop, I was waiting there, waiting, doing like some like tricks and stuff in the front yard, and drunk guys were like egging me on. And then a guy showed up who was waiting at the bus stop too, and I just started talking to him, you know, just saying like, oh, happy St. Patrick's Day, yo, how's it going, talking, da-da-da-da. Then I like busted out the Paradigm Shift meeting card, and I'm like, yo, check this out. It's like, it's some group of like my buddies, like, you might like be interested. And then from there, we got talking about dream exploration, and lo and behold, like, this guy who has never really had someone else to talk to about it, me and him actually like ended up hanging out like the entire evening, and like he was actually like helping me like do like the filming and stuff like that. So it was and the fact that like it would not have worked if he wasn't there. Like, it wouldn't have been the same reality if he wasn't there, and it wouldn't have been the same reality if I hadn't initiated that conversation with him, because I could have like let it slip by me so easily. But the fact that it happened was just like me recognizing that those type of opportunities are always in front of us, but we have to meet the universe halfway. Synchronicity will show itself to us, and if we can identify it, then we can like step into it. There's like signs, there's like communication that's actually happening. Like, the universe is constantly communicating with us. Part of our job is just to be able to listen. Like, listening in so many levels is like the first step. It's the first step of love. It's the first step of like awareness in a lot of ways. But yeah, so check out for that video. That video will be going up on my YouTube channel, and add me on Facebook, and you'll see that once I'll probably edit it after the show when we're doing it here. So yeah, stay tuned for that, because it's just like one of my raw videos, my raw skull videos, which is other stuff I've been putting up, just like raw footage and stuff. But like I said, I've been doing a lot of video stuff, and obviously there's the next project that I'm working on, the Journey to Lucidity, which I guess we should probably touch upon that real quick, shouldn't we, Joe?
Yeah, we'll get to that for sure. I just wanted to add in the aspect of, you know, how you're saying sometimes, you know, that the synchronicities, they come and we hear them, and you know, one of the biggest steps is just take action, right? It's like, you know, like you did with the bus stop there. It's like you could have just, like, you kind of felt it, you know, it was there, but, you know, if you didn't take the action, it wouldn't have come about. And I think that kind of relates back to what we were talking about before, where, you know, it's easy to say things, it's easy to be like, oh, the universe is on our side, there's synchronicities, there's this, there's that, whatever, but like, then we don't take any steps to actually change our reality or to make a difference or to do any of these things. And it kind of just becomes we're living a theoretical, I guess, you know, spiritual type of lifestyle. And I think that action is just such a huge step. And it's like, I've seen it work wonders with my own experience, and even with the project that we're working on now and stuff like that. It's just, you know, at some point you just decide to take the action, decide to take the steps moving forward, and everything will come into place. Because, you know how we say like our thoughts can create our reality and all that sort of stuff, but to a degree there's so much action involved in that as well, that we like to discredit often just by I guess living with the ease of just saying, well, my thoughts are going to create it, but sometimes there's aspects of action that just kind of needs to happen, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about this journey to lucidity, and you just threw up the link again there for the funding, which is great. But what exactly what's the project all about?
Yeah. Well, Journey to Lucidity is going to be my second full-length documentary film relating to specifically. Technically it's my third one specifically relating to like this paradigm shifty stuff. There's two others that I've done already. The Journey to the West, Journey to Rockmont, 3 Days of Light, and now this one, Journey to Lucidity. And not that specifically a trilogy, but there is sort of like this evolving theme that's kind of recurring throughout all of them, which was part of the idea. And obviously the other ones, go to paradigmshiftcentral.com/JTR as in Journey to Rockmont, and that's where you can see that documentary, and you'll find the other one on there on the main website as well. And this one, Journey to so the second one, Journey to Rockmont. Okay, well, hold on. The first one, Journey to the West, was me going out to Vancouver. I did a bunch of stuff with my buddy Joe, and it has stuff about Space Light, which is like this like electrolyte health formula that like it helps cure a lot of ailments and balance pH and stuff like that. And then the second one was about me going to a festival that happened back in November, and this was like before 2012, like before December 21st and stuff. And that was my first transformational festival. And by transformational festival, for those of you who may not be totally familiar, it's a place, I mean, it's kind of a blanket term for places where like yes, there's music, and there's also like yoga and workshops and meditation groups and people teaching stuff, and people who are mediums and psychics, and like singing and dancing and other cool stuff, and like presentations and lasers and people dressing kind of funny and poi and fire spinning and people hanging out and super chill stuff. Like, I know it sounds great, right? So that's what happens at these festivals. That was the one I went to, and then I documented that and made a whole film out of it, and doing it from my Skull Babylon side as like a journalist. This one, Journey to Lucidity, is going to be a bit different, going to be quite different. It's me going to a festival that's coming up in California in April, so short, like within under 30 days away. And that's why like I'm still working on raising funding for it. So again, for anybody listening to this, please, while you're listening to this, check out the funding page. So GoFundMe.com/Journey to Lucidity, and check that out. And this one, it's so obviously I have to get to California, and this festival is a little bit different from the one I was at. First of all, it's bigger. There's going to be more people, and this one, the festival itself is called Lucidity Festival. So lucidityfestival.com, shout out to them. And the festival itself is going to be themed kind of around aspects of dreaming, and there's still going to be all the stuff I previously mentioned, the dancing, the yoga, the meditation, the lasers, and all that awesome stuff. And there's going to be, in this one, there's going to be sort of like specific villages that kind of relate to different animal totems, I guess you could say, and different aspects of ourselves. There's going to be like the wise dragon, the playful coyote, the warrior tiger, and the loving dove, and a couple other, and like the playful monkey, and there's one more. And that will be incorporated into the story, and it will be, the story will, I mean, I can't just tell you exactly what it will be because it's still like sort of coming into fruition, but the story itself will be like me going through the festival as the observer, as the dreamer, and interacting with these people, while also like having a narrative element that will be a story in itself. So like as myself, like I won't be there as like Skull Babylon. Like, it will be me semi-acting while still representing myself. Like, this one will be kind of, whereas the Journey to Rockmont, like, there was no scripting in that. It was all, like, super what was happening. With this one, there's going to be a bit of scripting, some acting, so to speak, but, like, integrated with actual real elements. And so, similar to Waking Life, in the same way Waking Life, you know, it was like this dreamer going around and talking to these different people, right? And they each sort of brought this insight. It's going to be quite similar to that. It's going to be like, you know, I kind of explained it. It's going to be like a combination of like Waking Life, Enter the Void, and, you know, other sort of stuff. And that's where I referred to like Terra Gilliam in the beginning, and Imaginary and Dr. Parnassus, because there's going to be like some trippy stuff in it. And it'll be me going around talking to the different people at the festival who have so much knowledge and information and there's actually going to be like really cool stuff in addition to like dancing and everything, and there's going to be like martial arts scenes in it. It's probably going to be like some choreographed fight scene and stuff in it, and just stuff that I can't even foresee quite at this point, but important stuff in the sense that I want to be able to create a story that I'll be able to submit this film into festivals and be able to show it to a person who may be totally new to this paradigm shift stuff. So again, this is kind of like me coming at it from like a conscious artist perspective. Like, I don't just want to create something that's just for us, and by us I mean the people who are already digging this stuff. I want to create something that can be shared with a person who might have, they live out on a farm and they don't have internet and they haven't heard of this stuff, yet they can watch this film and still get something out of it. There might, in this one in particular, there might be some parts that might just make them sort of like raise an eyebrow, so to speak, but it will just be part of the process, and there will be something that they'll get out of it. Will be like, wow, like now I actually see things a little bit differently, or I feel a little bit differently. And a big part with my films, and this even goes back to my film about the Afghan war, the If I Should Fall, and that film in itself, similar to this film, is going to be a very visceral experience, and a lot of the journey to Lucidity is going to be kind of first-person perspective, so to speak. So like the audience, the watcher will be like going through the journey that the character is going through as well. So it would be like you going through the festival, but again, and it's going to be like, I mean, I think I already said this, but just to reiterate, the film is going to be very dream-like, because it's going to be kind of, again, I don't want to spoil it. I should not say too much. But yeah, it's going to be very, very cool, very dreamlike. Lots of amazing people and a lot of hard work involved on my end, and that's something that I'm dedicated to because I have a vision for what this project can become. But yeah, in order for it to happen, I have to be dedicated. I have to be willing to put the work towards it, and that's where obviously the funding comes into this, and that's where like the people who are listening right now and who hear about this project. They can contribute to help make this project happen, and whether that be through an actual donation or through just simply sharing the trailer or the GoFundMe page. And I'll just mention, if you donate $11, you get early access to the film once it becomes available online. Because yeah, that's part of the idea, is that much like the Collective Evolution films, like we want to just simply put this online for people to see, because it's more important to be able to get this film out to people than it is to try and like hold on to it and wait for people to buy it, so to speak. But with the way how the internet works and funding campaigns work these days, like that's where as a community we can really just help support a project like this, whether it be me or any of the other awesome projects out there. And just to state the obvious, like a big part of what you're also supporting, in addition to like helping pay for travel expenses and things like that, and it's also the production time involved with the editing. And obviously, like I said, like I went to school for television broadcasting, like it's what I do, it's my knack, it's my skill set. But yes, it does take quite a bit of an investment, and Joe, I know you can testify for this on your own end. I know, just a little bit, but it's an exciting thing. It's really an exciting thing, and I'll just say this last bit because it's something I just want to reiterate, and it's just sort of my perspective in terms of this project or any other project or anything in your life that you can sort of potentially envision. This whole idea that like thoughts create, like the fact that I can envision this project, there means that there is this reality that exists where the project is already completed. And now, from where I am, it's just a matter of me aligning with that reality within this moment to be able to help make it happen. And yes, part of that aligning to that reality will involve me staying true to that path, because kind of going back to the ego and just bring this full circle, just as a metaphor for everybody else, like when we create these paths for ourselves, it's our natural tendency to stray off them, but then it's our conscious intent that can bring us back onto them. So we just have to be mindful of that, of which realities we want to align with, and then putting in the work to see that they come to fruition in the way that they will. And it may not be exactly how you always expected. I mean, that's quite quite common, but I mean, still, you'll get to where you need to be, and you can look back and say, I put forth an honest effort in getting to where I am now, and that's what I promise people who will be, contributing and supporting this project, is I promise them an honest effort, and it's something that, based on my previous films, the other stuff I do, like, I got a pretty good track record, I guess you could say. So I mean, there's certainty in me saying that, like, this film is going to be, like, pretty awesome. All I need to do is just spend like a couple hundred hours making it as awesome as I can envision it. So, but yeah.
You know what? It sounds like an interesting film, and I don't know why, but like, as I was listening to you talk about it, the Enter the Void, for some reason, like, something about that just kind of like made it seem like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be similar to that. I don't know, like, I don't know why that vision just came up. I just like remember seeing one of the shots in Enter the Void that blew my mind was when they're doing the first person looking in the mirror.
Yeah,
that was wicked. That was
I'm still
well done.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine how they did it, but I like the fact that they did it so well.
Yeah,
it was really good. Yeah. I think I was going to say something there, but I forgot for a second. But okay, no. What I was going to say, okay, just to give people like a little bit of a sample in a scene that they can expect from the film. One scene that I have in mind, it will be this idea. So, the character in the film, who I'll be like sort of in the role of, he'll be talking to someone else, and then this guy will sort of be talking to him and be like, hey, like, have you ever tried meditating? And we'll be like, well, yeah, I meditate. And they'll be like, have you ever tried meditating in a dream? And then we'll be like, what? Like, you can do that? And then it'll be like, come on. And then it sort of like sets it up. So then the character who's like, because within the film, it's going to be layers upon, it's okay. Another film would be like Inception, if you want to think of it that way. But yeah, like within that, like the character will meditate, and then the film itself will sort of segue into like a good solid 5-minute, if not more, visualization meditative sequence. So there won't be like people talking on stage. It'll be like, like watching a visualizer for a good 5 minutes. Kind of similar, again, kind of going back to like Enter the Void, how they had that like 5-minute scene of the DMT experience, whereas like this is going to be like a 5-minute scene, which will be similar to the DMT experience, but doing it from the approach of natural, release of these experiences through the act of meditation. In this case, meditation within a dream. So the character's going to be like sort of like blasting off through space and inner space and outer space, and I'm sure people can sort of work in their own visualizations, sacred geometry, fractals, all this stuff, super chill. You'll see it when it happens, and I got to make it before you see it. So but yeah, I think that's just a little sample to give people an idea of what would be in the film at some point.
Nice. Sounding good. Sounding very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to when it comes about, and when you're going to drop that. And it sounds like there's going to be some interesting little effects in there and all that sort of stuff. This is kind of like flipping the script. I wanted to get to this question a little earlier, but like I know if you want to like continue on real quick with ending off, if you had like a note or something to I guess close this end of the topic, and I just wanted to get into another little question, but did you have something you wanted to kind of end that off with?
I think I think that sort of leaves them with a good idea of what the potential behind the film is. And again, supporting this film is supporting us getting our story out there to the collective consciousness, the whole collective evolution that we are a part of. And so any support is greatly appreciated. Donate if you can, donate when you can, and share it. Get the word out there. There's an image I'll post, if you go to ParadigmShiftCentral.com, or sorry, Facebook.com/ParadigmShiftCentral, there is an image of it that you guys can share, and sharing that image is like kind of an effective way, because people seem to like sharing images on Facebook these days. Yeah. So, but maybe I'll send a link for you, and then you can post that on the Collective Evolution page as well, if we can do that again. It's already been up once, but yeah, check it out, and check out my previous work in the meantime. Check out the Journey to Rockmont documentary and experience that for yourself. Like I still get a kick out of watching it, and that's always a good sign when the person who made it can still enjoy it X number of months later. So I look forward to sharing with you future projects and so forth. But go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was gonna say just in note to what you're saying about the funding. It definitely is something. A lot of times we don't realize how much it does cost to do these projects. The equipment, the travel, the time, the energy, like everything that goes into it. There's so many unexpected costs. So I'm just gonna second that I guess you can say that notion of if you can, help out the project, because it's definitely something that is worthwhile. And I think based on what you said already, it's a very intriguing project. So, if you can share that around at least, that would be awesome. I just threw the link up in the. Well, you just did it as well.
Oh,
yours is big and bold and red, so it's kind of it's easier to see.
For the image, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If you can, go ahead and make that. Make that share. That's kind of a donation sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a donation. Well, that's what I remind people. Like it's donation doesn't necessarily mean donation of space cash. Like donation is like a donation of energy, as well. And in this day and age, like a share is a donation, but unfortunately, shares don't pay for plane tickets. So
yeah,
but still, much appreciated.
Not a problem. Okay, so this is a question that I think a lot of us can relate to in some degree with going through this whole process, this awakening, all this sort of stuff. But at the same time, given the fact that you've made this stuff a big part of your life and a big part of what you do, what kind of, I guess, flack, so to speak, or resistance have you felt or received from people around you, and how did you handle that?
I've had this question before, and like thinking back, like to be honest, like in terms of like specifically the paradigm shifty stuff, there really hasn't been flack. Like there hasn't been like situations. I mean, if there was flack, it would have been something that I would have like instigated or put myself in a scenario where I could have, theoretically avoided it. And I guess that's the case, is that just that I haven't put myself in a scenario that would have created the opportunity for flack to occur in the first place. I mean, like I said, a lot of what I do is not trying to force something into someone's face. It's rather just like holding up a sign and saying like, this is a beacon for those who are interested, but not like going around and like shining the light in people's eyes, if that's a metaphor that makes sense.
Right, no, it's true.
Some guy runs up with a flashlight, be like, you're illuminated. Like, what the fuck, But, so, I mean, to be honest, I mean, even in terms of like, I mean, there's the odd YouTube comment, obviously, but even still, that hasn't been much. And like, I mean, I try to make my like videos online like usually pretty entertaining, so to speak, and my YouTube videos like they get good feedback, and that's always a positive thing. So I mean, like there really hasn't been too much flack, so to speak. I mean, I'm not really sure if I have like a better answer for that.
Well, that's good. I mean, it's good to hear. I know it's like, a lot of times we hear, friends or family or somebody or something usually is like I know in my experience they're always concerned. They're always concerned for why are you going so far off the path of what normal people do, and it's why can't you just accept the fact that the world is the way it is and you got to go with it and stuff like that. Right. But even though you haven't say received so much, what would you tell people if they were in a situation where maybe family or close friends or something like that was kind of giving them a hard time or I guess creating a tough experience in terms of the judgment, I guess, as to the path that they're on? Like when I say there wasn't any flack, that doesn't mean that there wasn't any obstacles, and maybe that's just the difference, is that like what some people might call flack, I may just perceive as an obstacle, and obstacles are something that you can either overcome or you can avoid. And sometimes we have to keep that in mind, is that just because there is this obstacle in front of us doesn't mean we have to put all our energy into climbing up it. It might just mean that we change direction and go in a place where that obstacle is not there. And, kind of like be water, go where different streams take you, sort of thing. So, I mean, I can understand people who do have even close friends or family members who may give them that tough time, so to speak. But I think it's our job to sort of be humble in what we do, and to not even take
stuff too personally. You know, and that could be a hard thing to do when it's coming from family members. But at the same time, and some people already get this idea, that part of us like chose our family, you know, part of us chose our mother and father, so to speak, and if you can identify that they are there to in fact challenge you, to in fact challenge and refine your consciousness, to understand that literally every single action within this reality is there to refine your consciousness, then it gives you the chance to sort of change perspective, and maybe it will help you sort of see new choices or opportunities that you otherwise might have been closed off to because you were so stuck in the emotion of being like frustrated with them, so to speak. If you have a truth in your hearts that you feel that you genuinely like connect with, then please, like, by all means, like, yes, like, live that truth within good boundaries, so to speak, good taste, and, you know, not harming anyone. But I think to get too weighed down by the opinions of others is again, you know, like that can be like the ego sort of like giving you a hard time kind of thing. But at the same time, like, I'm sure anybody, even that person who is giving you a hard time, I'm sure there is a way to meet them on a common ground, and to be able to find out what they are passionate about and what you are passionate about, and how that can open up into a larger conversation where you feel that they're like getting some, you know, you're sharing something of interest with them in terms of this like paradigm shifty stuff. And a simple thing that I always recommend, I mean, the dreaming thing might be a little complex for some people. If you have like someone who you feel is like, how do I get them to see this, so to speak, right? Well, show it to them. Show them sacred geometry. Show them things that they can visually recognize. And I think sacred geometry in itself is an excellent tool to be able to like help people sort of see something that is hidden in plain sight. And that's a big part of the process that we have to keep in mind, is that like it is like this, it's seeing the world with new eyes. So if you can help someone look at a tree differently, if you can look at a tree, you know, and explain to them that like, see the trees, like, and do it theoretically. Like, have you ever wondered why the trees like look the same way how our veins look? And have you ever wondered how like our veins are the same as rivers? And have you ever wondered how like, you know, and you can do like this micro macro thing, and there's like, that is interesting, right? And then eventually it opens them up to like this interconnectedness idea and stuff. So I mean, yeah, like, don't take things too personally, but don't give up hope on someone just because they're giving you a hard time, and don't be frustrated at them either. Rather be, if you can literally be like have gratitude for any situation in your life, then that is like some next level living, so to speak. Like, if you can literally get fired from your job and then just be like, okay, like, I understood that you know, I was brought into that job for a reason, and now I'm being expanded and opened up into more opportunities because I'm leaving this job. You know, if most people could see the world like that, like, oh, like, that's, you know, that's the paradigm shift in a lot of ways. So I mean, yeah, try doing that. Just try having gratitude for every situation in your life, including the ones that a part of you right now is telling you, like, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. Like, work through it, and you will become more of who you are. And then you'll look back and you'll say, like, wow, like, I wouldn't be who I was today had I not gone through that experience. And I'm thankful that experience happened. Like, if you can legitimately say that to yourself, then, like, thumbs up to you, because that's not always an easy thing to do. But that's where, as a community, like, I'm here to encourage you. Joe's here to encourage you. Like, we as a community are all going through that, which is why it's okay, and you're not alone. So yeah, like, sometimes when people are like lashing out in frustration, we have to remember that, think of your space, think of your emotional space as like a room, a living room. Like, you don't want to, if anger enters into your room, you don't want to try and push anger out of the room. That doesn't work. Rather, you invite in more love. So if you find a person who might be like giving you a hard time, it might be because they're the one who's like suffering. You know, so again, be that listener, be that person who can legitimately connect with them and have a conversation, and just do it. Like, do it with a person at a bus stop. Practice doing it. See what happens. You never know. So
absolutely, that was well said. And you know, one of the key things absolutely is the fact that you recognize that everything that does come into our lives, every experience that is there is realistically just a learning experience, right? I mean, we like to get caught up in the victim idea of everything. I think that's probably one of the hardest things that I've witnessed in a lot of I guess a lot of people going through this stuff over the past little while, is that everything feels like the circumstance of life is, that shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't be like this. Is too hard.
Yeah.
I'm upset. It's the world is against me. This, that, whatever, and just getting stuck in that victim modality and the idea that we can't change anything and that it's just, it's the world against us, so to speak. But when you let that go and you just see things for what they truly are, it changes completely the scope of life, and at the same time it gives you the ability to stand at a neutral point and really look ahead and say, hey, you know what, there's a lot that I can actually create here, and there's ways for me to go about it in a way that is freeing to a degree, right? Staying stuck in that idea is just really not, it doesn't help, right? It just doesn't get us anywhere.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, and again, like what the whole paradigm shift community, the global community is about, is encouraging people like that, going back, like they are not alone. Like there are other people doing this. There are other people, like call us light workers, call it light warriors, like whatever you want. Like I actually embrace the term light warrior. Like I think that's quite fitting, because I mean, a warrior does not by any means refer to someone who's like involved with violence or whatever. Like spiritual warrior is someone who is like determined, and again, literally going back to what we were just saying, being able to like recognize everything as a learning experience. Like that's like the mindset of a warrior, to be able to go through that and experience and embrace the experiences that come your way and live through them for the sake of proving that you're still alive in the process. So, I mean, yeah, reality can be tough. I mean, I often think of the metaphor of like going back to like World War I, when we had like soldiers coming up over the trenches and stuff like that, right? If you were to just tell one guy, like, be like, all right, like up over the trench, let's go, come on, like run out there into no man's land, he'd be like, yeah, right. But then if you were to have like a whole bunch of people like up over the trench, like running into that situation that is daunting, and not to say, like regardless of the metaphor of like there actually being like physical death, but just the act of doing something that is recognized as daunting and doing it as a group, it helps like everyone, it empowers everyone, it brings everyone up together, and that's where like I think one term that I used in the past, someone else brought it up, but it was the idea that like Paradigm Shift Central, like the communities in it, they can often be, I always, sometimes I think of them to some degree as like spiritual task force. And that literally means like getting involved and getting active and doing things in your community to reach out to connect with other people. So for anybody listening to this, like obviously I encourage them to think about setting up a Paradigm Shift community where you are, and obviously go to paradigmshiftcentral.com and you'll see the links on how to get started on that. It's quite simple, and again, like out of the simplicity comes complexity, and it's really exciting. And you got like a whole global momentum to do it. And yeah, we're here to be the change that we wish to see in the world, like Gandhi style, straight up. Like this is what we're up to. This is it. Like 2013, like a bunch of people all across the world getting together and changing the world and shifting paradigms. So no big deal.
It's no big deal at all. It's a small thing that we're doing.
It was bound to happen. Yeah.
We're headed there since the start of time, really.
Oh yeah.
No problem. No, I was gonna say we're getting close. We're in that 5-minute mark there.
Yeah.
Till it's time to say goodbye from Fred Penner and Mr. Dress Up here.
Yeah.
Good set. What final words? What if you had to do the Jerry Springer final words right now? What would it be the Jerry's final thoughts?
I mean, I was kind of curious. Like, we don't have anybody in the queue. Okay, like, if anybody wants to call in really quick, do it really quick. I'd just be curious to see if someone wants to jump in, since we mentioned that before. But
we just got a question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, bring someone on or do whatever.
All right, here it comes. Hello.
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 How you doing?
I'm good. This is
Matt.
awkward.
How's it going,
You
Matt?
recognize my voice. You recognize my voice.
This is Matt. He's one of my Paradigm Shifty buddies.
Oh, nice.
I'm a stalker right now.
No, you're not. Matt, did you have a question? What's up?
Did I have a question? Oh, yeah, one of my questions was, so earlier when you were talking about your film that you're making, when I read, the first thing that I heard was this, I'm going to script it. I'm like, what? You're going to script it? What do you mean by that? I don't get that part. So, is it going to be like a... Is it going to be like a...
Yeah. Like, I mean, I used to be a drama student back in the day. Matt, don't breathe into the mic so hard. I used to be a drama student back in the day, and I used to write plays, and you know, like I write poetry and stuff like that as well, and I've written stories and small like mini movies and stuff like that. So I mean, in the same way, like yes, there will be a script to this in the sense that there are certain scenes that I'm going to like have a checklist for, and then within those scenes will be things that I can't fully predict. So does that make sense, Matt?
Oh yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Crap, I'm trying to get my other question that I was going to ask, and I need to remember.
Yeah, we only got like a couple minutes, so.
Plus, we got another question coming in the queue here.
Do we? Okay.
Okay, bring them on. I'll think. Okay. You bring them on while I think.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Okay, go ahead, yeah.
Here comes on the next one. How you doing?
Hello? Wait,
hello.
Hello. Oh.
Hi, Jess.
Wait. Oh. Yeah, sorry, I'm like listening to that, and then like, you know how that's like 10 seconds
the echo.
Behind, yeah, or whatever. But I had a question, but now I forget it because I'm like painting and I'm just like so zoned out. But I hate when I do stuff like this. Oh goodness, wait. How do you and Joe, Collective Evolution, how did you guys get in contact with each other? Like, like.
I think we vaguely didn't answer that question at the beginning when we said that we don't actually remember. Like it just kind of happened.
Yeah. Like, on that question.
yeah. Like I mean, obviously I would have seen the Collective Evolution documentary, which they have online, and obviously, you know, for those of you who don't know it, just YouTube Collective Evolution, and they got 2 of them up, and then from there they had their page, and then from there, we just started we added each other, and then we were just like, you know, because I mean, even Franco did how do you say his last name?
Denicola.
Yeah, like I mean, I remember seeing his videos and stuff, and I knew that Joe was connected with him, and I contacted him and all that. But yeah, so that didn't answer your question, Jess.
Okay, yeah. I'm sure that you guys have like T-minus like 2 minutes, so I'm gonna let you guys like do your thing.
5 minutes, I guess. Yeah.
Oh.
Less than 5 minutes.
Well,
do we have time for anything else, Joe? You tell us.
You can, yeah, if you want. If you have.
Do you have another? Okay, another like riveting question, Jess. About the UFOs or the DMT or the.
Oh, I don't know the difference between UFOs and DMT anymore. I don't know, man. But 3 letters. That's the difference right there.
There you go.
But nothing that I can really think of, so I'm going to let you do your thing.
Okay. All right, that's cool. All right, so bye, Jess from Paradigm Shift, Connecticut. Okay.
Word up.
Word.
Well,
so anyways.
That was a great way of we unanswered or didn't really fully.
Yeah, totally.
We breathed down a little more heavy this time, I guess.
It's good to keep things elusive.
That's it. Nobody really needs to know anyway.
Right. Sasquatch.
That's it.
They didn't talk about Sasquatch. That's true. I don't know. I just put up a post when I was posting on the show. I'd be like, talking about trippy stuff and Sasquatch, and I know we didn't talk about Sasquatch. So now I'm talking about Sasquatch.
There it is.
Now we did.
It's been covered. We got him in there. Always fun to watch those Sasquatch programs and how they always find like new DNA evidence of this and that and whatever. It's really interesting. What's your take on it anyway? You got 2 minutes. Go.
Yeah, no, the Sasquatch thing. Like, okay, I think long story short, Sasquatch is like a quasi-dimensional entity that can phase in and out of dimensions and sort of has the ability to see us, and we can't see it all the time, but it can like choose when it wants to see us, so to speak, and it sort of exists in the same realms as like gnomes and other sort of mythological mythological folklore kind of stuff that's on another dimension, like a vibration. So it still occupy the same space as us, but we just can't see it. And Sasquatch is actually like fairly intelligent and also like very like shamanic in its own way and things like that. And I'm actually, if someone really wants to invest in one of my future projects, one of my future ideas is actually to write a children's book called Sasquatch and Me. And like I've already got the script and I got the artist, and that's actually something that's on my GoFundMe page. So you can find that link through my GoFundMe.com/SkullBabylon. And yeah, so I want to write a children's book about Sasquatch, and it would be like this awesome story, but I don't want to spoil it for you. But Sasquatch knows how to meditate, so I'll just say that.
Not a problem. That sounds like an intriguing little story right there. I hope Sasquatch is drawn in a friendly manner to not freak the shit out of the kids there, but no problem. Right. Anywho, we're getting close to wrap-up time here, but I wanted to say, thanks so much for coming on and sharing what you're sharing. I love the work that you're doing. It's along the same lines of what I think is important to be done right now. There's so much going on, and like you said, people need community. People need a support mechanism and tools out there to get together and do things, and that's what you're doing, and I think that's awesome.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, no, it's always great for us as a community to be able to collaborate, and I think it means a lot for the people who are listening when they look at Collective Evolution and be like, wow, like that's a big thing, and then like Paradigm Shift be like, oh yeah, that's another cool thing, and then to like see us like merging, creating that Vesica Pisces, like it just reminds us that we're all part of like the bigger team. So
exactly, one message, many messengers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it is. No problem. Okay, well, I think we're going to just take the next couple of minutes and basically just wrap things up. Thanks so much again for the opportunity, and hopefully we'll be in touch again one day. You know what? When you drop the Journey to Lucidity, we'll have you back on. You can talk to us about it.
Yeah, totally. And I'll just mention this real quick because it was just kind of funny. Like 2 minutes before the show went live, I actually got a message from Facebook saying that I'm banned from posting on pages for 60 days. So if people don't see any posts on I won't be able to comment on the Collective Evolution stuff, or post stuff on pages, but you'll still see posts going up through the Paradigm Shift Central pages, which I'm like admin for. So, but yeah, help share my stuff because I kind of can't share it as much as I normally would. So thanks, Facebook.
No problem. One piece of advice on that is always create and I've done this, a couple of dummy accounts.
That's just, don't talk about that, man. Don't talk about that. Cool, man. I watched the movie Hackers. We've been over this. Actually, that was another story that I didn't get into, but I'll just leave people with it real quick. Like a part of my personality and stuff. Like I almost got expelled for hacking in grade 10. So Skull Babylon, retro hacker from back in the day.
That's it.
Fighting the good fight.
That's
it. Anyway.
Alrighty. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Are we totally wrapped up here?
No, I'm just gonna do the wrap up here now.
Okay, I'll just shut up.
The banter. I guess you can call it the banter.
All right. I'll be quiet. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. Add me at Facebook.com/SkullBabylon and YouTube.com/SkullBabylon. ParadigmShiftCentral.com. Blah, Journey to Lucidity. Please. Thank you. Namaste.
Not a problem. So yeah, to wrap things up here, it was nice talking there. I'm really interested to see this project that he's working on there, the Journey to Lucidity. If you haven't seen the movie Enter the Void, it's an interesting film. For some reason, those visions were coming through my mind, and it's not even that. I haven't even seen the full movie. I've seen probably the first I'm gonna say 3/4 of it, and in the end, I kept falling asleep. Note: it is a long movie. It's very, very interesting, but it can be slow at different moments. But it definitely is probably up the alley of a lot of people listening to this show. So be sure to check that out. Notes. What do I have to say at the end of this show? I have nothing written on the paper. However, I got in front of me is the IT guy, the guy who's helping out with the new relaunch that we got going on here, which should be dropped, I guess, in the next, I'm going to say, 5 seconds or so? Nah, just kidding. But probably dropped within the next, few hours if all goes well. But, in the technological world, most of the time, nothing goes well. If you've ever done a technological project that went well the first time, please submit that to the Guinness World Book of Records, because that's probably a first. Anywho, thanks again for tuning in. I'd like to encourage everybody to recheck the links that are in the chat for Skull Babylon with his pages, with his information, the Facebook, the website, his GoFundMe campaign. Help out as you can, share as you can, and as always, follow our show on Blog Talk. There's a little button there called follow. I think it's just below or right by the avatar that you'll see there, and that'll allow you to get updates on upcoming shows. We'll remind everybody that next week we have a real interesting show on hemp and cannabis that's going to be coming up. We're going to be having a doctor on the show who's been working with the plant to basically cure people of cancer mainly, but it can be used to cure many other things as well, because the cannabinoids contain properties that basically allow for a lot of immune system regeneration. So that'll be a really good show. We're looking forward to that. I just wanted to say thanks again for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next time. I'm most likely going to leave you guys off with this little song that we opened up with that is by Circa Survive called I Felt Free. It's probably one of my favorite bands. Go ahead and give that a peep. Take care. My name's Joe, and I've been your lone gunman host tonight. Take it easy. And be sure to check out www.collective-evolution.com within the next couple hours or day to receive the exciting new unveiling that's about to happen. Not a problem. Peace.